I don't think I got as far as that.
There is, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, this is the City of Tyler Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Tuesday, October the 9th. Our first order of business is to call the roll. Sheila?
Present.
Beth Whitney,
Here.
Blair Swain,
Here.
John Landis,
Here.
Lloyd Nichols,
Here.
David Hudson.
Present. The Planning and Zoning Commission makes recommendations, excuse me, to the City Council. Agenda items Z21-042 and Z21-044 will be heard by the City Council at its regular meeting on Wednesday, December the 8th, commencing at 9 a.m. All other items approved today will be heard by the City Council at its regular meeting on Wednesday, November the 10th, commencing at 9 a.m. If you received a notice for this meeting, you also have received a notice for the City Council meeting. Subdivision plats are approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission solely unless there is a request for a waiver of escrow fees or construction. Only the City Council makes financial decisions. If any item is denied, the applicant has 10 calendar days to file a written appeal with the Planning Department. The appeal will then be acted upon by the City Council. If you're here to speak for or against an item, please state your name and address for the record. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes or less, although extensions of time may be granted by the chair upon request. All of the meetings of the Planning and Zoning Commission are open to the public. Immediately at the conclusion of this meeting, there will be the commission will hold a workshop to prepare for next month's meeting, and of course that meeting is like all other meetings, is open to the public, and the location depends on how expeditiously we deal with today's business. If we're running kind of late, we'll stay in this room. If it's not, we'll be across the street in the large conference room for that meeting. The next order of business is minutes from the October 5th meeting. Have commissioners had an opportunity to review those minutes? Any questions, corrections, changes? If not, Mr. Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from October 5th, 2021.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes from that meeting. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the first item on our agenda is zoning item A21-005, Werner Crossing LLC, 14143 County Road 192. Thorani?
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and good afternoon to everyone present here. This is a request for a voluntary annexation of approximately 7.12 acres of land. This is adjacent to the present boundary limits of Tyler. The location is at the east of the intersection of Hidden Hollow Lane and Old Noonday Road. This request would change, would reflect the future land use guide to be single-family medium low density, which is consistent in the area that has the future land use guide to be single-family medium low density. And this would also change the city limits of Tyler and also the City Council District 2 boundary, and also the new boundary for extraterritorial jurisdiction. And also the city would be required to provide services for that area. The request is for 7.12 acres, and they're requesting for a zone of PUR, which is planned unit residential, and this comes with the site plan. There you can see the site plan. They're requesting right now just for the phase 1 to the north of the property, which is along Old Noonday Road. This is going to be a 40-unit, two-story attached townhomes. Even though the homes are going to be fronting along Old Noonday, there would be access via shared drive in the back. There are two sets of setbacks for this with a height of 2 stories, 42 feet height. And as I said, this is the first phase of annexation, and the applicant would come back for the southern portion of it. That's the property. Out of the 15 notices that was sent, 2 was received in favor and none in opposition to the request, and all the city departments have reviewed the request and have no concerns regarding this, so the staff recommends approval of this annexation.
All right, thank you. Any questions for city staff? If not, I have 2 cards here, one from Mark Priestner. Mr. Priestner?
Thank you. Mark Priestner, 1121 East Southeast Loop 323. As Brian stated, what we're doing is we're annexing the first phase of this. As you can see by the diagram, this is north of the crossing, so it will be touching 3 lakes. We're currently in the process with the city on working out the burning and clearing ordinance. It's going to be what can be allowed inside the city limits, which is why we're breaking this up. As soon as we have that worked out, we're going to come in with the rest of it and bring it into the city. As you can see, it's a mix of uses. It's meant to be complementary to the crossing. So it's got a mix of regular single family. It's got some attached and detached single family on smaller lots and some garden homes. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any Jimmy?
Mark, so the extension of 3 Lakes Parkway is going to be anticipated to be in which phase of the construction? You have any idea when that would be done?
Probably the third.
Okay.
We're starting right now, since we don't have access to that. We're starting at the north and working down, but
Okay.
you know, that could change.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Any other questions from Mr. Priestner?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for your time and presence. I also have a card from Mike Patterson. Mr. Patterson? State your name and address for the record.
Mike Patterson, 11,009 Hidden Hollow. If I'd known I was going to be talking to you here, I would have dressed myself more appropriately. No disrespect intended. I live right across the street in Hidden Hollow from the end of this, and I've just got some questions. One is, what I received, along with our homeowners association, was whether we protested 44.15 acres of land and it would all be single family, medium, low density. And what I just saw up there, first of all, is 7 acres. And secondly, can you put that back up? It appears to show a lot of duplexes and triplexes in there in the future. And I'm wondering why they're carving out 7 acres, because I know folks in the homeowner association along that street may not, I approved it based on what was sent to me. I'm not sure they would approve if they knew how congested that's going to get along that roadway. So there's a disparity between what I received and what's being presented to you.
Is there a way that we can see what Mr. Patterson displayed, what his notice is compared to ours?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, yeah,
comments.
yeah, I think the issue is that the, when it was sent out in the mail or notified, it was for a larger area. And since that time, it was reduced. And so as long as it's reduced and not expanded, there's not an issue with notice. So now if that would have impacted perhaps, you know, the neighbor's opinion on that, then that's something the commission could discuss or discuss with the applicant on whether that is an issue moving forward. But the notice was, or the area that was to be annexed was reduced and not expanded.
And you're telling me if that happens, then that's not objectionable? If it went the other way, would it, I guess that would
Right,
create a notice
right.
issue?
Yeah, if it was noticed for a smaller area and then the request changed to be larger, then we would have to re-notify for that.
But it sounds to me like Mr. Patterson also received a notice that, is this correct, that it was single-family homes? Is that what you were?
Yes.
So it's not
What's it say?
just a reduction, it's also kind of a change in land use.
What you've shown up there, those are
Was it PUR?
duplexes and triplexes, is that correct?
Well, I think the notice says PUR, which is
Yeah,
what's on the
They're
agenda.
attached single family. So while they're multiple units, it still falls under the PUR single family category. So our overall density is 4.4 units an acre on the entire 44 acres. So it's still in line with what is standard, single family residential. We just have a mix of some are attached as the PUR allows and some are detached.
So they're duplexes?
There'll be some townhome triplex, some duplex, some totally detached garden home, and some typical like Charleston Park style.
And do the homes along Old Noonday, are they going to be able to back out
No.
onto Old Noonday?
No, it's all been designed so it's internal circulation. The driveways on those will all be on the back along that creek. We've got a common area that'll have a pool. We have trail system, green belts. Everything's kind of tied together and inside. It's designed specifically not to have individual driveways on it.
Yeah, which they've done that with the subdivision behind us.
Right.
But they will have two exits.
They'll have three. There'll be two on Old Noonday and one onto Three Lakes Parkway.
Well, Kyle, are we going to come back with the rest of this? When is your posting? Is that for today?
Yes.
Are we going to come back for the rest of this proposal? I mean, obviously, the
Yeah.
commission's got to look at the rest of, we're just looking at what's in the red line area here on the chart. And
Right.
everything else will come back, and when will that come back?
Well, annexation is upon request from the owner, is a voluntary annexation. So at this time, this is just a portion of it. If it's preferred for more of it to be annexed at one time, then that'd be something for the commission to consider. But really, it's up to the applicant on what they want to annex and at what timing. So I would say that, or I'll add that this property does have a preliminary plat already approved for it that does show, this pretty much, I think this configuration. So that already underlies or is on the property as a plan of development. So that can definitely change as well. But at this time, it looks like the applicant is, or the applicant's wanting to proceed with that type of development, but at this time only annex the first phase there.
Yeah, if I was a skeptic, I'd be concerned that you're carving out an area and then coming back with something different than what you led us to believe here.
Well, as Kyle said, we've already preliminary platted it. This is a voluntary annexation. The properties that were developed across the street were done outside the city with no zoning. So we're bringing this forward because we want to be in the city. We want to have city water, sewer, fire, police protection, and all tied together. So this is our plan of development. We're following it. Again, the issue with not annexing the whole thing at this time has been the burning inside the city. We've been working through the city and we're close to what that new ordinance is going to be, and I would imagine it's going to be approved in the next few months. So I would imagine we'd come back, it may be 4 or 5 months before we come back with the entire, but it'll be coming in the near future.
Any questions for Mr. Patterson or for Mr. Priestman?
Thank you. So all I got to say.
Surrounding, what are the zonings around this subject area?
It's in the county. It's in the county, so it's not zoned.
Oh.
You know, Cal, I certainly take your word on the posting issue, but I don't want to, I'm not all that eager to make a mistake. I've got lawyers here. Is this posting, is there an issue with the posting? No? I get a nod, head nod, no? Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, those are the only two cards I have on this issue. Are there others here who would like to speak on this item for or against? If not, is there a commissioner who would like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve A 21-005.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Thanks, Mr. Priestner and Mr. Patterson for your time and presence here. The next item on the agenda is S 21-002, Camilla M. Jones. Thorani?
This is a request for a special use permit for adult daycare. This is the property that's located southeast of the intersection of Mesquite Drive and Shady Bluff. If you could see, it's to the north of Grande. The property to the northeast and west are zones R1B, and they're all developed with single-family homes. And the property to the south is AG, which is agricultural district. That's Encore easement, most of it, and it's undeveloped. It's a future land use guide. The applicant is requesting, as I mentioned, for an adult daycare. This is a special use permit, just for history. Special use permits are approved for specific periods of time, and the time and duration of special use permits rest with the city council. Usually, the first time special use permits could be for 1 year up to 3 years, and the renewals could be for a longer period, just looking at the impact of the special use permit in that area. And some uses for their nature could be for longer, for indefinite period of time. And also special use permits, if they don't meet the conditions required, they could be revoked at any time by the city council. And this property, the applicant plans to use to provide care for adults aged 22 to 71 with physical or cognitive impairments who require personal care services, protective services, and supervision and daily assistance. And the hours of operation would be from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The applicant for the special operating daycare for adult is required to have a state license, and also no more than 6 children or adult. In this case, no more than 6 adults would be allowed as per the special use permit. We talked to the applicant, and the applicant right now does not have the license. Is in the process of acquiring one, and also they have not done any home inspections for the property. Out of 14 notices that was sent, none was received in favor, and almost everybody around in that area, 12 notices was received in opposition to the request, bringing it to a total percentage of 45.52%. And also we did receive multiple other petitions, which is not in the notification area signed by the owners of the neighborhood. Most concerns were they did not want to see adult daycare and the specific use. They were opposed to it, and also the traffic congestion, also safety in the area. Some of them also had mentioned that others in the area have been operating some daycares as well, so this could cause an even more problem in the area. So that was what the opposition had mentioned. Also, just to make a note, there are no adult daycares present in the city of Tyler currently, so this will probably be the first one in case if it were to be approved. The staff has reviewed the request and recommends denial.
All right, Thorani, thank you very much. Questions for city staff?
So, Tarani, there are, I heard you say there are daycares in this neighborhood?
And some of the opposition had mentioned that in
So
their
they're not-
request.
They're not, we don't.
Yeah, we're not aware of any that
Yeah.
are with special use permits.
So there are none, no group homes was some of the, I saw some of the protest letters said group homes, and then also an auto shop or something to that extent as well in the neighborhood. So you're not aware of any formal special use permit in this neighborhood?
Yes.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And Durrani, staff recommends denial based on their not having their license and no inspection being done, as well as the percentage that.
Protest, yes.
Or any other questions for city staff? If not, I have several cards on this item. The first one is from Kelly White. Kelly White. Ms. White, if you'd come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kelly White. Address is 6247 Mesquite Drive. I'm on the corner across from this house. We have had a lot of complaints in the neighborhood from this house in particular. The applicant does not live in that home, has not for about 6 years. It has been a rental property. We've had a lot of issues with those renters, including an unlicensed daycare, lots of traffic, lots of noise, and there's already quite a bit of traffic where they cut through Grande to Pinecone Lane. She mentioned that there had been several others sign the petition. They all live on that corridor, and there's been people moving in and out of there like crazy because of that traffic as it is. The adult daycare situation, I understand there's not one in Tyler, but this is a completely residential neighborhood. Lots of children, lots of animals, and I've had plenty of incidents with, family members that have had someone that it goes to an adult daycare that lives across the street from them, my parents included, that have had, people coming into their house that they're not able to control. They've had to call the police and have them removed. I understand the need for it, but I just feel like it needs to be in a commercial setting, a daycare setting, that there can be safeguards in place of. So that's all I have.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you for your time and presence. Any questions for Ms. White? All right, if not, I have a card from Alan Hanson. Mr. Hanson. Would you just state your name and address for the record?
Yes, I'm Alan Hanson. Address is 6246 Pinecone Lane. I'm literally just the corner post of the notification bulletin. Basically seconding, a bunch of the neighbors saying comments, security, the traffic and stuff like that, and also the concern that this is a residential property. This is not the applicant's primary residence. Her residence is in White House, so I question if this even meets the criteria for a special application. And also stating that the backside of this property is agricultural. There are coyotes, there are wild animals. I've had coyotes trapped in my fenced backyard. It's not something you want to deal with as a normal person. If you're taking care of others, I don't think you want to be dealing with that issue either. I understand, the need for adult services. I'm contemplating, that for my dad, but I don't think it's appropriate in a residential neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hanson. Any questions for Mr. Hanson? All right, if not, I have a card from Billy Bob Wright. Mr. Wright. If you just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Billy Bob Wright. My wife and I, Diane, have lived at 6247 Whispering Lane since March of '78. We've raised our 3 children here. It is our home and our neighborhood. This area has always been regarded as residential. When we moved there, they were just developing this neighborhood. We were the last house before it turned into a wooded area. We want to go on record as being strongly opposed to any zoning change that would change the personality of our neighborhood. First off, there will be an increased traffic flow. Many families have lots of young children, and any increase in traffic would be a safety problem. Secondly, the parking. There's several people on our neighborhood that have 4 and 5 cars, because they have children in high school and college. Last Sunday morning, I counted 18 just on our corner. And so, we just don't need to deal with any more congestion than what we've got, or any more traffic flow. But I hope you'll see our point of view on this and side with us.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Any questions for Mr. Wright? If not, those are the only cards I have on that item. Is there anybody here, any person who would like to speak on this item for or against? If not, is there a commissioner who'd like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we deny S 21-002.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to deny say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The application's denied. Thank you all for your time and presence here. The next item on our agenda is PD 21-020, DIYA Hotels LLC. Tharani?
This is a request for site plan amendment for PMXD1, which is the planned mixed-use district. This is a property that's located along Troop Highway and the intersection of Golden Road and Troop Highway. The applicant is requesting to change, will have a site narrative for PMXD1 to convert the property into apartments. The property to the west, east, and south are Zone C1. In the south is the location of South Park Center Shopping Mall, and the west is the medical center, and to the east, there are commercial uses that are developed along Troop Highway. The property to the north, which is PMXD1, which is also mixed use and is the location of Bank of America. The future land use guide identifies this property as mixed use, and this would be inconsistent with the future land use guide. The subject property is currently the location of a Studio 6 motel. The applicant plans to convert this to a 128-unit apartment community that will have a mixture of 96 studio units and 32 two-bedroom apartments. They also have amenities including clubhouse, fitness center, business center, sports court, and an outdoor pool. There will be no structural changes to the buildings itself, although the individual apartments would be renovated as per the applicant. Looking at the property, there are 165 parking spaces in the property, and with the change in the usage from motel to an apartment complex, it does not meet the UDC regulations. The current UDC regulations, which is our Unified Development Code, requires 1.5 parking spaces for a one-bedroom unit and 2 parking spaces for two-bedroom unit, and also in addition 5% visitor parking, which brings up to a total of 219 required parking spaces, and they currently have 165. So the staff had reached out to the applicant, and applicant had let us know that they will be installing bike racks, and also they're planning to utilize the bus stop, the transit stop that's within 300 feet of the property. Also, they did a parking study with the Institute of Transportation Engineers manual, and they sent us the study showing that the 165 parking spaces would be sufficient for the property. Our traffic engineer, Cameron Williams, have reviewed the study and recommends approval. And he's here if you have any questions to go over the numbers, because he's good at math. Also, I want to mention that they have a 96 studio apartments, and which would be 500 square feet, and the 2-bedroom is 850 square feet. So given the square footage of each unit, and also the parking study, and looking at the area itself with the multimodal amenities present, staff at this time recommends approval of this zone change. And with the 13 notices that was sent, none was received in favor or in opposition to the request, although we did have the neighbors inquiring us about the whole process, and we did let them know that the applicant has submitted the study, and we're reviewing, and we recommend approval, and they didn't have any concerns or issues with the recommendation. So with this said, the applicant should be here to have, to answer other questions, and Cameron, a traffic engineer, is also here for more questions, and staff recommends approval of this zone change. the site narrative.
Thank you, Thrani. Any questions for city staff?
Is it common to approve a site with that, 50 parking spaces is quite a variance. Do you do that on a regular basis?
Well, our UDC has one bedroom,
Uh-huh.
but these are studio apartments, so that probably in the future we can look at it, so that would be something that we would consider here. And also for the two-bedroom, they are showing the study that indicates one per bedroom should be sufficient. So looking at those calculations, we would support this.
I would add to that, no, it's not common to do that unless there is a variance. Anytime there's been a variance to, parking requirements, perhaps through the Board of Adjustment, that parking study was prepared for those. So I guess it is kind of the method to try to dig, get into the details on the specific site and all those numbers. So this would be the method to achieve that, but, as you know, it doesn't come up that often, but for a planned development that's being, converted from a, hotel use or, to a residential use in a mixed-use area, that, this is probably an issue that would come up quite often. And and the applicant is here, they can speak to some other examples where they've done this in other cities and what experiences they've had, so.
And just a quick question. There's no feasible way that the applicant could incorporate the 50 parking spots?
I think they could speak to that, but I think without tearing down any
Building
usable, units for that purpose, no. We did early on suggest that they do go to or discuss with the other property owners in that area if they can share some parking. The code allows shared parking agreements within 1,000 feet, which is a large span or a large area, that they could, speak to some neighbors about excess parking, at least maybe after hours or shared hours or off, whenever they're off peak. I don't know if they've fully vetted that option yet, but again, I think they're here to talk about it. Yeah.
I have just 2 points, or maybe questions. If this was a new development, and with this current site narrative, that what you're saying is that we would go through the same process as well. If they said we're 50 short, but this is the layout and this is our perspective, and then Cameron said yes, that seems appropriate, that we would follow these same guidelines if it wasn't being repurposed, but if it was new, correct?
Yeah, that would be an option in that scenario. Yeah, it's uncommon in maybe a new development to not be able to meet that requirement. So, I think
But that leads me into my next issue, and that is that I would not want to be in a situation where we're providing a hindrance on neighboring properties as well by not providing the adequate amount of parking per UDC requirements. We have those for a reason, obviously. But if our calculations, if our tables don't specify, and I believe that's what you're saying, is they don't specify a studio size apartment, right, then that means that we have a gap, and that they're approving up, that they're filling that particular gap with their study. Is that pretty accurate statement?
That's accurate. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
However, am I correct in, they're saying though that the 2-bedroom apartments would only need one space, is that correct? Is that what you said?
One per bedroom.
One per bedroom.
One per bedroom.
Yeah. And the other,
but it does speak to that though. It does speak to the 2-bedroom apartments though, which we have currently, which is what?
So the UDC right now has a requirement for two spaces per 2-bedroom unit.
Okay.
But it's 2 per and 2 plus. So really what that says is if you have a 3-bedroom unit, it's still 2 parking spaces. So there's still kind of built in, there's a missing, it's not even 1 per bedroom as is, but it's kind of uncommon to see, apartment units with 3 or 4 bedrooms in it anyways, and usually in those cases, they can be addressed, because it's new development. The other thing with the plan development is where it can't be used as a mass variance, but, for one issue like this, the parking, with the details, and then also, considering the size, which are, established, again, through the site plan or the narrative, the size of the units can factor into the requirement.
There's also a visitor parking requirement too. It's not just the residences, there's an allowance for visitors.
A certain percentage.
Plus 5.
Yeah.
5%.
5%.
Yeah.
Well, we all live in Tyler. I'm not sure if bicycle racks are gonna
Offset.
help very much.
And
but,
public transportation.
Yeah, the public transportation, yeah.
And I really didn't understand the question that Jimmy stated. If this was a new development, you all would ordinarily say the 219. So the 165 would never even come into question. It would be 219.
Unless the developer
Came with,
came and said, this is why, and I think that's what they're doing.
yeah, I understand.
They're providing that. Yeah, Kyle or Thrani, is there currently enough parking spaces for the current PMXD1 site plan? Does it meet the standard now
For the motel use?
for the hotel use?
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I do have one card from Kurt Smith. I'm assuming it represents the developer, Mr. Smith. If you state your name and address for the record.
Kurt Smith, Boulder Venture, 311 East Chicago Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Thank you very much for having us this afternoon. So my partner and I, Robert Schmidt, this will be our 5th hotel acquisition that we will be converting to multifamily apartments. Our first project was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 units with 104 parking spaces. Our next project was in Albany, New York, which is 112 units with 148 parking spaces. Our third project is in Akron, Ohio. Our fourth one is in Jackson, Mississippi, and this is our 5th one. Our first 2 projects, to the parking question, which is really the question. Our first 2 projects, the one in Glendale and the one in Albany, New York, are both consistently 100% occupied. And actually, Glendale has 96 units and 104 parking spaces. And we have 100% occupancy, and we have not had any parking issues. Reason is that we're very proactive with managing the parking. We recognize the concern and the question. So when we have a tenant that signs a lease, we assign them a numbered parking space. They have to register their car so that we know their car and we know their location. And so we manage it actively. If we have, let's say, 3 units available, and we have we have applicants with too many cars, unfortunately, it's our risk, and we have to turn them down as prospective tenants. In terms of, let's say somebody abuses the property or the situation, sadly, we've had to tow cars, and people take notice of that pretty quickly when their car is found in an impound lot and they have to pay a fine to get it out. So we recognize the issue. We are managing it regularly as part of our protocol. We do hire a local professional manager. We don't try to manage it from Milwaukee. That would be too hard. So we are very attuned to the subject, and we're happy to answer any questions about it.
All right, Mr. Smith, thank you. Thank you. Any questions from Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith, the other 4 locations and projects that you've done, has there been any on-street parking that has been around those other developments? Because primarily what we're talking about is off-street parking here, and that's our biggest issue. So some perspective on your other projects, please.
No on-street parking. So we're maintaining the parking on site.
Okay.
There are not people parking across the street or randomly at an office building. That's not happening.
Okay.
Are any of those in more dense urban type areas where walking and biking is more of a prevalent?
Yeah, I mean, our property in Milwaukee is almost the exact same kind of location where you've got commercial use, you've got office buildings, and we're a part of the mixed-use nature of the neighborhood. So yeah, density is a part of all of these properties. You know, hotels are generally built in traffic, you know, generally denser areas. These hotel styles were built back in the mid-'80s to early '90s when Marriott was building kind of these garden-style hotels. And fast forward 40 years, and they're really expensive for hotel owners to maintain. So Marriott removed the flag from a lot of them, and they tend to go downstream in terms of flag and quality of hotel operation. And a lot of times they become a nuisance. So we go around, we purchase them, we fix them, we renovate them. They're generally in similar neighborhoods. We have 12-month residents. They've been terrific. We've enjoyed them. We have a couple of reference letters from the cities we've worked in. So if you'd like to see those, we're happy to provide them. But it is, parking is a subject, and this type of location is also pretty common for us.
And Mr. Smith, most of them have been the garden style in
Yeah,
your in the
they're
other
all the
states?
exact same style property. Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Smith? Thank you, sir, for
Thank you.
your time and presence here today. That's the only card I have on this item. Are there other persons who would like to speak on this item for or against? If not, is there a commissioner who'd like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve PD 21-020.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item is approved. Good luck with your project, and thanks for coming to Tyler. The next item is PD 21-018, Broadway South Development. Kyle, is that
Yes,
you?
sir. This is a site plan amendment for approximately 50 acres of land. This is near the village, or the Cumberland Park area. The applicant is requesting the site plan to allow for the development of townhome units on a single piece of property. I do have renderings of the product that they're intending to construct, but it will be subject to a site plan. It's 272 units on the property. As you can see here, they are going to be they're proposed to be in 4-unit buildings and 6-unit buildings. The overall density is just under six units per acre, so it's still, you know, considering the size of the property, that it's still kind of a smaller density. It's intended to complement the commercial area here with townhome units. The proposed setbacks for the entire property are 15 feet from all the property lines, as you can see here on the plan, and 15 feet between each structure at a minimum. Here's the proposed layout, or the proposed buildings. As you can see here, each unit has its own garage space and kind of a shared parking area for any visitors in that area. Let's see, the maximum height is 45 feet, although there'll be single-family townhome units. This request is consistent with the future land use guide. I already went through it, but the mixed-use center, and it's also consistent with the standards that were approved for the Cumberland Park area back in 2008. Of the notices that were sent out, 0 were returned in favor or in opposition to the amendment, and staff performed a technical review and finds that it's consistent with the approval criteria and recommends approval.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Kyle?
Kyle, I have a question about the extension of Centennial Parkway, and then also, is that Allen Farm? What's the north?
Yeah, Allen
north
Farm
road
Road.
section?
Yeah.
Okay, so would the developer be required to extend Centennial to and through?
Yeah, that would come at a later, well, that's with the platting of the property, but they would be required to extend Centennial Parkway along the frontage of the property at a minimum. If that's where the dedication of the property is, and my understanding is that they do plan to dedicate it's a 70-foot collector down there, and that they plan to address that. And then on the north side, that's Allen Farm Road, which would be, it's no longer on the master street plan as a collector street, and so that's why it's being terminated there with a cul-de-sac. They would be required to construct that as well. And I forgot to mention that they do have this is a gated development, so there are gates and sufficient setbacks for those gates.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for Kyle?
So then Centennial heading back out east, south and back east, they'll be required to connect that to where it exists now?
Just
No?
to and through.
Right, it doesn't, no, it wouldn't continue east of the property. There is another property in between this and, Centennial Skidmore, and so it wouldn't be part of that.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, I have two cards. One, H. Jackson Wallace. Mr. Wallace, state your name and address for the record.
Jackson Wallace, 5690 Watermelon Road, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We represent the developer, Wayfair Development Group, and we're really excited. We built this type of product in 5 locations, working on our 6th, actually, and 7th as well. I think kind of what you see is what you get here. It's a fantastic single-story townhome style development. One of the things that one of our biggest amenities here is green space, and the fact that you do every apartment has its own garage, or 2-car garage. Some of the 2 bedrooms have 2-car garages as well. Our tagline is single-story apartments with garages, nobody living above you, nobody living below you. And it's a very low-density development. As was mentioned, I think it's 5.44 units per acre, the way this lays out. But full amenities, and I think it will be a great asset for Tyler, and we're really excited about it. So happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Any questions for Mr. Wallace?
When you say townhomes for sale, or these rentals?
For rentals.
All rental?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Wallace? All right, thank you, sir, for your time and presence. I also have a card from Rick Martindale.
I'm just here to answer any kind of difficult questions.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Martindale? Let the record show that Rick Martindale, some address on East Southeast Loop 323 here in Tyler was available for questions. Those are the only cards I have on this item. Are there other persons who would like to speak on this item for or against? If not, would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve PD 21-018.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item's approved. Good luck with your project. Welcome to Tyler, Texas. Don't ask me about Alabama.
Studio movie grill. It's back behind, and then
the next item is Z21-047 Texas SJH Holding Limited. Kyle, you're doing this?
Yes, sir. This is a zone change request from PMXD1 Planned Mixed Use District to PCD Planned Commercial District. This is for a portion of the property, as you can see here on the map. The adjacent properties to the north are zone PCD and developed with commercial uses. To the east, south, and west are zone PMXD and are PMXD1 and are developed with commercial uses. There is a medical clinic on the remainder of this property, and the applicant's requesting to rezone this portion in the future to subdivide it and for the development of an automotive oil and lube service station. Jiffy Lube is the intended business, and this request is consistent with the future land use guide, identifying it as mixed or as general commercial. As you can see here, the property is in between the restaurants and the commercial uses to the north and to the medical office to the south, and they will utilize a shared driveway with the medical office, similar to how O'Reilly did on the south side of the same property. As you can see here, the applicant proposes the site plan, which shows 4 bays for the service station, and the applicant does provide the required stacking spaces and parking for the site. The site will be subject to all C1 standards, so signage, setbacks, height, and things like that and uses are subject to C1 standards. They are proposing a buffer, screening buffer on the south side of the property between the clinic and the Jiffy Lube, and so they're proposing a solid screen of shrubs, 6-foot tall shrubs along the common property line, as well as the buffer the buffer yard there that will have trees and shrubs as well. Of the notices we sent out, we received 1 in favor and 0 in opposition to the change, and after performing a technical review, staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Kyle? If not, I have 1 card on this item from Angel Robinson. If you'd come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Hi there, Angel Robinson, 309 Catlin Circle, Highland Village, Texas. I work with the developer, Guggenheim Partners, and we're very excited about this project. We've worked with Kyle and his team to create this layout with the property. The width really is what created some of the constraint for us when we were looking at the drive aisles, the stack, the buffers, and how we could even utilize existing plant material that's there. So that's what drove this plan that you have in front of you, and we're really excited. If you have questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you for your time and presence. Any questions for Ms. Robinson? If not, thank you for your time and presence here today. That is the only card I have on that item. Are there others here who would like to speak on this item for or against? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve Z21-047.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Good luck with your project, and thanks for being here. Thank you. The next item is Banks Construction Llc.
Almost.
Caleb.
Yeah, thanks.
I understand.
I'm slow.
It's confusing.
Go ahead.
Yes, this is Z21-042. They're recommending a zone change from R1A and R2 to C1. The applicant is requesting the zone change to develop commercial buildings on the site. The property is currently undeveloped. The adjacent properties to the north are zoned R1A, M2, and C1, and are developed with a salvage yard and a commercial building on the lot directly to the north. Properties to the east, south, and west are all zoned as residential and are either undeveloped or developed with single-family homes. Future land use guide describes this property as being single-family, medium, low density. This request would amend the future land use guide to neighborhood commercial. As I said, the property is currently undeveloped. The applicant, like I said, is requesting the zone change to develop metal commercial buildings on this property. Obviously, the current zonings of R1A and R2 don't allow for commercial retail space. The property is in close proximity to west-northwest Loop 323, which is developed primarily with industrial or commercial uses. So this request would be consistent based on the proximity there. Of the 13 notices that were mailed out, no notices were returned in favor or in opposition to the request. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval.
Thank you, Caleb. Any questions?
Caleb, is there improved frontage on both sides of the property there?
No, there is not. I think those are train
Is that a
tracks.
railroad?
Yes.
Is that a railroad right away?
Yes, that's correct.
It is, okay. So it's just frontage on
West 34th.
34th?
Yes.
Okay. And due north is a salvage yard? Is that correct?
The property right there that is directly between this property and the loop is a salvage yard, and it's zoned as industrial.
As industrial?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's zoned M2. Yeah, as you can see, the property's right there at the corner of the loop and 34th are zoned industrial, and then a little further down the loop is C2. They're requesting the zone change for C1, so it's a lighter industrial, which is more lighter commercial, which is with the residential properties that are right there is more of a transition.
And that M2 track, that's split zone, right?
Yep. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So the whole use is M2.
I think a little portion at the very south is R1A on that M2 lot.
Right, but it's a single track though. It's split
Correct.
zone, right? Okay. All right. Thanks.
That C1 right across the street used to be where the, don't ask me how I know this, but where the Climax Club used to be. Is it still there? Is there any still there?
There is a building still on that property.
It was a private club, yes.
Private club, and it's still there and operating?
I don't know. No, I think it was kicking and screaming. There was a club there. I'm not sure if they're in operation anymore, but it's zoned C1.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
We have a lot of questions.
Would you like somebody to find out if it's still open?
Save those for later. I have one card on this item from Travis Boquette. Is that close? Is the applicant here?
He was here for the previous one, Travis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's got number, okay. Good. All right, any person here would like to speak on this item before it goes? If not, would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Z21-042.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. So does that bring us to Z21-043?
That's correct.
Lionel and Jessica Zuniga?
Yes. This zone change request is for PXR, which is planned mixed residential, to R1B, single-family residential, on 825 Tubb Street and 826 Buckley Avenue. It's two lots. They were rezoned to PXR a few years ago to allow for single-family attached units. The site plan currently states that only single-family attached units can be developed on those two properties. The applicant is requesting the zone change to allow for them to build single-family detached homes, one on each property. The properties to the north, all surrounding properties are zoned as for residential use, either R1B or R2. The previous zoning of this lot before it was rezoned to PXR, it was R1B, which is what this zone change would would go back to, or is proposing. The future land use guide currently identifies the property as being single-family and single-family attached. This would amend it to be single-family medium low density. You can see the lots are currently undeveloped. The applicant never developed on the PXR site plan, and so now the applicant is wanting to develop with these single-family detached homes. The property. Of the 31 notices that were mailed out, no notices were turned in favor or in opposition to the request, and staff recommends approval of this zone change.
Any questions for city staff? If not, I don't have a card on this item. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak for or against? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Z21-043.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve this item. In discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item's approved. That brings us to Z21-044, BBMI Property Management. Caleb?
Yeah, so on this application, they were requesting a zone change from R1A to R1D to allow for uses to have multiple dwelling units on the property. We've spoken with the applicant to further clarify what it is that they're intending to do on the property. We believe that R1D is probably not the zoning that that would give them what the applicant is requesting. So after speaking with the applicant has requested that we table this item for a future Planning and Zoning Commission so that we can work with them to figure out what.
In talking with the applicant, do you believe that there's a direction that they can go and they'll come back in 30 days or 60 days or?
We have a meeting with the applicant next week on Tuesday to discuss the item with them. What they would recommend, or what would allow them to do what they're intending to do, would be a rezone to R2, two-family residential. The applicant is intending to rent out the top portion of the home that you can kind of see on the top left picture. They're intending to rent out that top portion of the home as a second residence. They want to have separate water and electric meters as well, which R1D would not allow for. R2 would allow for that, but as you can see, all of the surrounding properties are zoned R1A, which is what this property is also zoned. So R2 would most likely not be consistent with that area. So we're going to meet with the applicant to discuss
And
their future plans.
there's no R2 or garage apartment kind of operations anywhere in this neighborhood unless they're back zone, unless they're grandfathered. Is that correct?
That's correct. I did speak with one applicant who mentioned that someone was doing something similar on a different property in this neighborhood, but it's not zoned for that use. So.
Okay. All right. Are there any persons who would like to speak on this item, Z21-044? Wilma and Bateman intersection, any person.
It's on Bateman Avenue.
It's actually on Bateman.
2623 Bateman.
Yeah, 2623 Bateman. All right, if not, the staff's recommendation is just to table this for, I was fishing for a period of time.
I would say indefinitely. Indefinitely?
Indefinitely.
Yeah, we talk to the applicant about what options ultimately they may not be able to do that on this property, so if that happens, then they may just withdraw the application.
If they can't do it on this property, why aren't we denying? Is there a motion to table this indefinitely?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion, we table indefinitely item Z21-044.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to table indefinitely. All those in favor say, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, next is Z21-045, Monica M. Cannon. 912 and 1012 East Front Street, and 103 East Earl Street.
Yes, this zone change request is for R2 to C1. The applicant is requesting the zone change to develop medical office buildings on the property. The surrounding properties to the north, east, and south are zoned R2 and are developed with an elementary school and single-family homes. The larger lot to the north is the elementary school. The lot to the west is zoned C1, and as you go further down Front Street, it's primarily developed with commercial properties. But the lot directly to the west is developed with commercial buildings. Future land use guide identifies this property as single-family, medium, low density. This request would amend the future land use guide to be neighborhood commercial. As I mentioned in one of the previous zoning cases, because of all the residential areas right there, a zone change to C1 helps in that transition from residential to heavier commercial use, like it is further along front. Property currently is mostly undeveloped on the west side. There is a home on the corner there. I'm not sure if it's currently being occupied, but property. Of the 11 notices that were mailed out, no notices were returned in favor or in opposition to the request, and staff recommends approval.
All right, I don't have any cards on this item. Is there any person here who'd like to speak on this item for or against? Yes, sir. Michael?
Yes.
Hiding behind the mask, wasn't sure.
My name is Michael Talbert, 4524 Edinburgh Drive, Tyler, Texas. I'm currently the tenant on that property. I do gardening, raise row crops, vegetables. Actually, there were 2 responses returned in favor. One from the lot 13, which is the westernmost lot, the one adjacent to the west. That one was in favor, and then the one to the west of that was returned in favor.
But we don't do it, Kyle, do we have those?
I have it here, yeah.
Did I miss them in my packet, or did I not get them?
No, there's.
Oh, yeah, here they are. Monica Cannon is in favor, and J.M. Martell, I'm sorry, I did see these, and they're both in favor. Martell or Cannon here? No. Okay, Michael, go, I'm sorry I interrupted.
That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions? If not, any other person who would like to speak on this item for or against? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make, go ahead.
You go ahead, Dave.
I make a motion we approve Z 21-045.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? All those, any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item's approved. Next is C 21-013 Miracle Center Church. Tyler? Caleb?
Yes. This is an application for a road closure, a right-of-way, an alley right-of-way closure. The alley right-of-way is currently not in use. It's right there at the along West Gentry and Summer Camp Road. The applicant, the Miracle Center Church, has submitted a thoroughfare closure before. I believe this is maybe the second or third one that they've done for this property. They've been closing the road as they've acquired the properties there on their lot. The circular building there is the church, I believe. They now own that home right there directly to the east of the thoroughfare, or of the alley. The intent for them is to tear down the home and develop that area with a parking lot for the church. this is consistent with what they've done in the past. You can kind of see where there's a break between the two alleys. That's where they've closed the road previously. There are no other neighbors directly adjacent that that would be affected by this right-of-way closure. Right, and of all notices we sent out, we didn't receive any in opposition or in favor. So staff recommends approval of this request.
Okay, any questions for Cody? If not, I don't have a card. Are there persons here who'd like to speak on this item for or against? There was a form sent in by Llc. Not here. Anybody like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve C21-013.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve this right-of-way closure. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is the conclusion of our zoning items. On our plats, Kyle, these first 8 plats, are these, Thrani, we're going to have to do these individually? The first 8?
The first 5 are recommended for approval, so we could F21-116, P21-034, F21-159, F21-163, P21-035. They're all recommended for approval, except for the first one. They're also requesting a waiver of subdivision improvements, so it's recommended along with the waiver.
And is the staff's recommendation that we approve those 5 items, including the waiver of improvements?
Yes.
And is that because of the location?
Yes. They're requesting a waiver for curb and gutter and sidewalks, basically the street improvements. And the engineer has looked at it, and the development services engineer and the HAF associates have also reviewed it, and with regarding to the location of the property. There are no curbs along that particular street. It's all built out. So the staff recommends approval of the waiver.
Okay. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak on the first 5 items that Thrani listed for us, including a waiver of subdivision improvements? If not, is there a motion to approve those first 5? Or am I getting advice from?
Yes, I was just told that to approve the F21-116 separately and the next 4 items together.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Every item to be approved separately.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody here who wishes to speak on any of these items? If not, is there a motion to approve F21-116?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve F21-116.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second? Does that include the waiver of subdivision improvements?
Yes, including the waiver of subdivision improvement.
Any
Yes,
discussion?
second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That plat's approved. P21-034, Rolling Meadows. Is there a motion to approve that?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve P21-034.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve that plat. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Plat's approved. F21-159, Rolling Meadows West.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve F21-159.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve that plat. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Plat's approved. Next is F21-163, Cooper Estates. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve F21-163.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this plat. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Plat's approved. Next is P21-035, Mayhar Estates. Any is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve P21-035.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That brings us to F 21-160 Mayhar Estates, Thorani.
This is a 4-lot subdivision, 9 acres. It's located west of the intersection of Mayhar Road and Old Jacksonville Highway. This is in the ETJ. We are still waiting on water and sewer documentation, so all staff comments have not been addressed, and staff recommends denial of the plat.
All right, is there any questions for city staff? And if not, is there a motion to deny F 21-160?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we deny F 21-160.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Plat's denied. Next is F 21-158 Dogwood Park.
This is a 29-lot subdivision. It's 7.35 acres south of the intersection of Dogwood Park Boulevard and Roy Road. This property is currently zoned POD and R1D. This is to create 29 lots. They have a preliminary plat was approved for this property, and this plat was submitted for a final plat for the first phase of it. And there's a alignment that has been changed from what preliminary plat was approved, so we're waiting on the revised plat. So at this time, all the staff comments have not been addressed, and staff recommends denial of the plat.
All right, staff's recommendation is to deny F 21-158. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we deny F 21-158.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny this plat. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Plat's denied. Next is F 21-139 Lake Park Heights.
All the staff comments have been addressed, and staff recommends approval of this plat.
All right, staff's recommendation is to approve. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion we approve item F 21-139.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this plat. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Plat's approved. Now we have 2 consent plats, Group A, and my lawyer is going to let me do these together, which I'm grateful for.
It's for denial.
F 21-1, is that still the staff's recommendation?
Yes, it's for denial.
On consent plats, Group A, F 21-142 and F 21-164. Is the staff recommendation is to approve?
The staff
To deny,
recommendation.
sorry, deny. It's the staff recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we deny consent plats Group A.
Second.
Motion's been made to deny consent plats Group A. Any discussion? Second, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor of the motion to deny? Aye. You know, that clock freaked me out for a while.
It's the longest meeting ever.
I know, golly, it's 10 till 4. What's going on here? We need to get some technicians in here to change the clock.
Change the thermostat, too.
Change the thermostat too.
Make a motion.
It's
I thought
nothing.
it was just me. Is it hot here?
Is it hot?
Are we gonna stay here, or are we gonna go across the hall, across the street?
Is the air conditioner working over there?
Yeah.
Are there cookies?
Yeah.
We're going.
I'll make a motion to cross the
We're gonna stand and
Second.
go across the street.
Can we adjourn?
Oh,